So much football coming up over the Christmas period in the Championship. Let's make this nice and simple. Going to roll all our predictions into one and try and figure out, is your team going to have a good Christmas or a bad Christmas? I am defining the festive period then as post-Christmas up to FA Cup. So in the Championship, we've got round 24 on Boxing Day on the 27th of December. We've got round 25 then, a couple of days later on the 29th and 30th of December. And then in the new year, we'll pop this one in as well. January the 1st and 2nd sees round 26. That takes us to a 2-week break for the FA Cup. We're going to cobble together all three of those fixtures and figure out how we think your team is going to do. Get involved then down in the comments. I don't only want to hear about the team you support. Let me know who else you think might have a good Christmas or a bad Christmas. And remember, as always, context is king. Every club has different expectations. So maybe a bit of an explanation would be great down there in the comments. Let's start then with leaders Burnley. They have Birmingham at home, followed by Stoke away, followed by Swansea away. Probably not going to fear any of those opponents. It is 2 out of 3 games away from home, but maybe they'll be pleased to be playing Birmingham up at Turf Moor. Surely there's a minimum 5, 6, maybe even more points the way they go. And I think it's going to be a good Christmas for Burnley. Let's have a look then at second place, Sheffield United. They play Coventry at home, Blackpool away, QPR away. Those latter two, again, it's 2 away games. Not great in the form charts, but QPR do have a new manager, potential bounce there. Coventry is probably the most difficult opponent on form, but they have got them at Bramall Lane. So I think the points total is going to be absolutely adequate to keep Sheffield United moving in the right direction. It's a good Christmas for the Blades. Let's have a look at Blackburn then. In third place, they play Sunderland away, Middlesbrough home, Cardiff at home. We'll obviously start by saying Blackburn are capable of anything. Lots of wins, lots of defeats. Quite tricky to predict for the likes of me. I think Middlesbrough is a difficult game. I think Cardiff's an okay game. I think Sunderland might be a little bit tricky though. And given that they're third in the table, they do need to be towards that 2 points per game. So I don't think they'll get it. So I will go bad Christmas for Blackburn. Let's talk Watford then in fourth place. They play Millwall home, Swansea away and Norwich away. It sounds pretty tricky on paper, but I do think we're going to get the typical business for Watford where they'll do well at home. I think they'll pick up points on the road as well. Normally on the basis of star power rather than anything magnificent on the pitch. I think they'll be okay despite the 2 away games as well. A good Christmas for Watford. In fifth place is Norwich. They've got Luton away. They've got Reading at home. And they've got Watford at home. And this is where we have to go into expectations and situation. Anything basically involving a defeat or less than 7 points is not going to please the Norwich fans in the current back and forth with Dean Smith. I don't think they'll get that across those games. I think it's going to be a bad Christmas for Norwich. QPR in 6th place. I've given myself no wriggle room by doing the good-bad thing because I'm right down the middle on this one. QPR play Cardiff away, Luton at home, Sheffield United at home. Obviously very difficult, that last one. The other two, can they get 4 or 6 points in that? Possibly. Let's go with the new manager bounce and say they will, but I'm right down the middle. But let's go good Christmas for QPR. Into that chasing pack then just behind the playoffs, and Preston in 7th place. They have Huddersfield at home, West Brom away, Stoke away. So the first two, Huddersfield obviously is a nice fixture. They're not doing well. West Brom are doing really well. It then boils down to Stoke away from home. I don't know if I like that. I think it might be a bad Christmas for Preston. Next up then is Birmingham in 8th place. They go to leaders Burnley, then face Hull at home and Middlesbrough, informed Middlesbrough at home as well. I like Birmingham. I think John Eustace is performing really, really well, but I do not like those fixtures. I don't think they're going to get more than 3 or 4 points out of those 3. So I'm going to go for a bad Christmas for Birmingham. In 9th place are Millwall. They line up away at Watford, tricky, but then 2 fairly nice home games, Bristol City and Rotherham, who are right at the bottom of the form table. We'll say the normal thing about Millwall, their home form will prop them up. I think they can get a good amount of points in the second two games if they're not going to get much at Watford in the first round. I think it's going to be a good Christmas for Millwall. In 10th place are Swansea, and this one's actually come up in terms of form as the most difficult trio of opponents for the Swans here. Reading away, Watford at home, Burnley at home. Yes, they've got the big teams at home. Reading are more tricky to play at the SCL than they are away from home. I think it's going to be a tough one for the Swans across those three, and not in great form themselves. Sorry, Swans fans, a bad Christmas for you guys. And speaking of Reading, here they are in 11th place. Obviously, we know their first game, because we've just spoken about it, is at home to Swansea. But Norwich away and West Brom away. Yes, they might get something against Swansea at home, but those other two games are tricky on the road, aren't they? I think it's going to be a bad Christmas for Paul Ince's merry men at Reading. Last one in the top half is Sunderland. They've got Blackburn at home and then Wigan away and Blackpool away. So I like this a lot in terms of the fixtures. Can they capitalise? They've got Ross Stewart back. They've got sides in the lower part of the table at home. Blackburn, again, we say it could be anything, couldn't it? But I think it's going to be a good Christmas for Sunderland. Into the bottom half, and we've got Middlesbrough. They are one of our hot hands. Can they stand up and be counted? Because they've got a couple of games in this little run where you would think, if they are the real deal, they'll get points from them. Wigan at home looks nice, and then Blackburn away and Birmingham away. Tricky fixtures, you would think, but I trust Carrick, I trust the Surge, so I think they'll get something from at least one of those games, which would make it a good Christmas for Middlesbrough. In 14th, Coventry. Now remember, we're ignoring the game which is tonight as I'm filming against West Brom. We're just doing the period between Christmas and the FA Cup. So that brings Sheffield United away, oof. Cardiff at home, Bristol City at home. Yes, I know Coventry did beat Sheffield United at home. I was there. You can check that out on the vlog. I think that's a real hard one, but I do think the two home games coming up after that, Cardiff and Bristol City, will guarantee a good Christmas at the CBS. Luton down in 15th. This one's another difficult to call. Obviously, they've got their own new manager in Rob Edwards there. They've got Norwich at home at a good time, possibly, with the Canaries not in good form. They've got QPR possibly at a bad time away from home because of Neil Critchley just going in there. They've got Huddersfield away. If they get a fair win, which I think they might. I think they can get something against Norwich and against Huddersfield. I think it might be a good Christmas for Luton. West Brom, here come another of our hot hands. And again, I won't be factoring in their game tonight at Coventry. But I like the way the other three fixtures have fallen. Two of them at home. They've got to go to Bristol City first. Away from home, they're not in great form. Preston at home, then Reading at home. Given the current streak for West Brom, I think that looks very nice. A good Christmas for the Baggies. Down in 17th are Stoke. I know I've spent the entire of the last 3 years expecting Stoke to trend up soon, but I'm expecting Stoke to trend up soon. I think these fixtures are okay. Rotherham away looks decent. Burnley at home obviously doesn't. And then Preston at home, I think they can do something there, as I said, in the Preston 3 games. So I think that might be a good Christmas for Stoke. Bristol City in 18th. Sorry, Bristol City fans, I do not like these fixtures at all. In form West Brom visit Ashton Gate, and then difficult away games at Millwall and Coventry, who both have good home records and good defensive. I don't like it. Sorry, it's going to be a bad Christmas, I think, for Bristol City. In 19th spot then are Rotherham, who are trending down fairly fast. They've got Stoke at home, Huddersfield away. That could actually turn out to be a very big match, couldn't it? Millwall away as well. Maybe they get something against Huddersfield, but the other two I'm not too sure about. So sorry, Millers fans. I think the trend down continues bit by bit with a bad Christmas. Cardiff City are just about keeping their heads above water in 20th spot. They've got QPR at home. They've got Coventry away and Blackburn away. Not sure I like those two road games there. Cardiff has been a little bit of a struggle. We're worrying about embargoes and whatnot with January coming up. Don't think it's going to be a good one. Bad Christmas. Sorry, Cardiff fans. Even closer to the relegation zone are Hull City. And yeah, obviously there's going to be more bads as we go down the table. But I think I might have some Christmas cheer here in terms of Hull. They've got Blackpool at home, Birmingham away and Wigan away. I think they might struggle at Birmingham. But the other two are going to be tight sort of bottom 6 clashes. And I actually fancy Hull, I think, in terms of star power in those 2 games to get something. So I think it might be a good Christmas for the Tigers of Hull. That's probably given away what I think about 22nd place. Blackpool, who are not in great form, are they? They go to Hull, like I just mentioned, and then Sheffield United at home and Sunderland at home. Maybe something in the last one, but I just don't think it's going to be a big number of points across those 3 games. It might still be in the bottom 3, to be honest. A bad Christmas for the pool. Wigan then second from bottom. There is the caveat, we don't totally know how they're going to go under Kolo Touré. 2 games so far, only 1 point. They play Middlesbrough away, Borough in form. They play Sunderland at home, not sure. And I've already kind of nailed my colours to the mast when it comes to Hull. It's Wigan versus Hull at home in the 3rd game. So I'm not sure Kolo Touré is going to be massing up the points too much over Christmas. I'm afraid a bad Christmas for the Latics. And finally then, Huddersfield down at the bottom. They go to Preston. That doesn't really work for me from a Huddersfield points accumulation point of view. Rotherham at home, like I said, could be something there for either side. Huddersfield hope it's them. Luton at home is a playoff rematch. I'd make the Hatters favourites. They may pick up a 3-pointer, but they really need to get moving. They need a 4, a 5 preferably, don't they? Huddersfield, I don't think they're going to get it. It's going to be a bad Christmas for Mark Fotheringham and Huddersfield. There you go. That concludes my little game of good Christmas, bad Christmas in terms of all the championship teams. Get your thoughts down there in the comments. People do tend to get a little bit upset if I predict that their team's going to do anything other than win 3-0. Let's try and make this a realism conversation over a tribalism conversation. I would love everyone's team to win all 3 of their games over Christmas, but I think everybody knows, and it's an objective fact, that's not going to happen. Speaking of emotions running high and, of course, therefore low, there's a big difference between 2 of the moods of our championship clubs right now. You can click here if you want a happy video to see some optimistic West Brom followers talking about Carlos Corberan's good run at the moment. Or, if you want some chaos, click up here where you'll see some slightly more pessimistic and frankly disgruntled followers of Norwich City. Not very happy with Dean Smith at the moment.